And what is up, everybody? All right. Recently, Vlad TV has been posting up his interview with Michael Jack White and why he breaks the segments up into like 5-minute segments. I don't understand that. It's one interview. Just do the whole interview. Instead, he's just been cutting back and chopping it up and putting out bit by bit. And the last one that I saw was talking about his experience with DMX and his experience with Spawn. But the one thing that people kept saying was how Black Panther was the first black superhero movie. And even he's like, well, that even he understands that that's not true because, but even Spawn wasn't the first black superhero movie. That's right, friggin' way back in, I want to say 1993. It was either 93 or 94. Meteor Man with Robert Townsend and Bill Cosby and a bunch of other famous black comedians was out, and that was the first black superhero movie. Granted, it was a comedy, but he was still a superhero. Now, but what? And even with that, the next black superhero movie to come out was Blank Man, Damon Wayans, and I'm having issues with my neck. I have herniated discs in my neck, so I can't just hold the camera up. So bring in, Blank Man comes out, and Blank Man was basically Meteor Man's Batman. Both comedies, but both superhero movies. I don't think any others had come out at the time until Spawn in 1997, and it beat Steel by 2 weeks. Steel was DC, so that was a big thing because it was Shaq, and at that time Shaq kind of ruled the world. In the early 90s. It's like he was becoming a legitimate brand, almost like Jordan. Whether it be the Pepsi Big Slam, the Shaq Attack toys, video game Shaq Fu, all that nonsense. But Steel comes out, and he's black comic book superhero. So, even though Spawn wasn't the first black superhero movie, it was the first comic book black superhero. And Steel came second. Neither one of those spawned a franchise. But then comes Blade. And Blade did. First two movies were great. Third movie, not even going to try to get into it. But now here comes, however many years later, Black Panther. Black Panther, if you want to get technical, is not even the first black superhero based on a comic book. Not and especially mainstream. Not the first one. You'd have to go with Lothar, who was Mandrake the Magician's sidekick. And if you want to go like a superhero that's not a sidekick, then yes, Black Panther. No ifs, ands, or buts. And Black Panther was also Marvel's first ever graphic novel. The first graphic novel they ever published was a Black Panther story. Marvel had always been on the eve of had always been on, on the cusp of being progressive, and but it made sense how they did it. Now it's just, now it's just retarded. But they had been doing stuff for a while. Not like what they're trying to do now. I guess because it gets so much media attention, they gotta try to show off, like, oh yeah, look how progressive we could be. But you've already had it. You've already been doing it, and it made sense when you did it. You already had a black Iron Man. You already had a female version of Iron Man. You already had a female Captain Marvel. You already had, like, Sam Wilson had already been Captain America prior to you making the big announcement about it. Like, you already have gay superheroes. You don't have to keep making new ones when you don't even push the ones that you got. Yeah, just dumb stuff like that. And it sucks that it's come to that. But back to what I was getting at. People who say that Black Panther was the first black superhero movie. And everybody tends to forget about all the other black superhero movies that came out before. You know why? Because nobody cared. Nobody cared that Robert Townsend was black as Meteor Man. Nobody cared that Damon Wayans was black. Nobody cared that Spawn was black. They just wanted to see a Spawn movie, a live action Spawn movie, which I actually liked. I still like it to this day. The special effects, no. I'm not even a Spawn fan. The only reason Spawn was such a big hit back in the 90s was because parents were too stupid to buy comic books. To read the comic books that they bought for their kids. Or they would just let their kids buy their own stuff. My dad, who was a big comic book nerd, in turn made me a big comic book nerd. So he would read the books before bringing them home. The comic books that I read as a kid were basically all my dad's. He just let me read them. And when I finally became an adult and I watched the animated series for myself, and seeing as how the animated series was almost exactly like the book, I was like, this story sucks. This story is awful. It's like the only reason why it was such a big deal in the 90s was because it had violence, it had nudity, it had profanity. That's the only reason why that story did. That's the only reason why that book sold so well. And there was nothing original about the story. It had nothing to do with the character being black. Was it? Steel? Steel was supposed to be black. Blade. Most people didn't even know that Blade was based off of a comic book. So, got all these movies with black superheroes, but now because everybody has to point out black or white. Now because everybody's got to show, try to say like, oh yeah, something we can finally be proud of. It's always been there. It's always been there. And the best thing I can say about the Black Panther movie was it didn't suck. Because it wasn't good. Definitely didn't deserve 7 Oscar nominations. Especially when there were plenty of other, much better, far superior Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that didn't get an Oscar nomination. In fact, Chadwick Boseman's performance in Captain America Civil War was better than his performance in Black Panther. Captain America Civil War was a much better movie than Black Panther. I was happy that they introduced Black Panther. I was I was very, very happy. That's like, wow, finally, Black Panther. This movie? Nah. Not feeling it at all. And I had to leave a comment on that particular video, and it's already gotten two replies. Like I did this today, and like not even 10 minutes later, it got two different replies. One guy was like, "Oh snap, I forgot about Steel." It's like that movie sucked, and then somebody else said, "Finally somebody." It's like finally somebody who knows what's going on. And I would think that this is common knowledge. Considering how everybody else, tries to paint this broad picture of racism, and that couldn't be any further from the truth. I wish that this Captain Marvel movie was the actual Marvel Captain Marvel, or if you want to push your BS feminist progressivism, social justice, garbage of, oh yeah, having a female Captain Marvel, then why couldn't it be the actual first female Captain Marvel, a black woman? My favorite black superhero, Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel. Why couldn't it be her? Woman, led the event. Captain America even nominated her to be leader of the Avengers, and she did lead the Avengers for a short period of time, and eventually they switched it back to Captain America. Why couldn't it be her? Why'd you have to change her name and make her a character lesser than what she used to be? It makes no sense. And I'm already looking at the trailer of this movie. I genuinely don't care to watch it. I know a lot of people that are genuinely disappointed because of the massive hypocrisy going on behind Disney as well as Marvel right now, because of the progressive BS. And this isn't what, there's a reason why we like these characters. There's a reason why the story worked. Instead, you're trying to reinvent the wheel, and you're just pissing everybody off at the same time. And like I said, first was Meteor Man, then Blank Man, then Spawn, then Steel, then Blade. Spawn was the first black superhero movie based off of a comic book. Blade was the first comic book superhero, first black comic book superhero based off of a comic book to get a film franchise. And Black Panther was the first black superhero, comic book superhero, mainstream, that wasn't just a sidekick, and Marvel's first graphic novel. Anybody who says that Black Panther was the first superhero movie, the first black superhero movie, cannot see past the color of their own skin. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.